It is much safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. You've heard that line before, but you rarely apply it to your minor, everyday conflicts, the places where you rush to say, "I'm sorry." You think apologizing will clean the air. In reality, it often just lowers your standing. Machiavelli never studied people as if they were saints. He studied them as if they were courtiers watching, ranking, deciding who can be pushed. That is how people act in families, friend circles, offices, and online, not according to morality, but according to position. And in those living courts, the one who bends first is the one remembered as lower, even if the mistake was small, even if the other person started it. You may be morally right and still look politically weak. You were taught the moral logic. If you hurt someone, apologize. If you cause trouble, admit it. If you want peace, offer softness. That works in a world where everyone is fair. But Machiavelli wrote for a world where some people are fair, some are offended, and some are just waiting for you to kneel so they can keep you there. So he would ask you to look again. Are you clearing tension, or are you giving away rank? Watch what happens after the second, third, and fourth apologies. The other person starts deciding the tone. They decide when the conversation ends. They choose how guilty you should feel, how long you must explain, and how much you must compensate. Your "I'm sorry" became an invitation. You can rule here. And most people, once invited to rule, do not refuse. Parents do it. Partners do it. Bosses do it. Even friends do it when they sense you're afraid to lose them. Think about the small scenes. You're late. You already said sorry once, but you keep over-talking, over-explaining, promising you'll make it up. They lean back. They enjoy it. They realize you are the one trying to regain favor. Or you raise your voice in a discussion, then feel bad and send a long message, then another, then another. By the third message, the issue isn't about the original issue anymore. It's about your dependence. You have shown you can be bent. This is the dangerous part Machiavelli would underline. Men and women do not only judge what you did, they judge what they can make you do next. If you look easily moved, they will move you again. If you look desperate to repair, they will raise the price of peace. Your character becomes cheap, not because you are bad, but because you are too available to submit. So the real problem is not that you were wrong. Everyone is wrong sometimes. The real problem is that you collapse when you're wrong. You rush to erase the discomfort, to win back their smile, to prove you are good. That rush exposes your hunger for approval. Hunger is leverage. The person who wants harmony the most loses the most. When you start thinking like this, you stop asking, "Was I nice enough?" And you start asking, "What did all this display teach them about my place?" That is Machiavellian vision, not cold for the sake of being cold, but clear about how people sort one another. You can be decent and still refuse to perform weakness. You can make peace and still make it obvious you are not a toy. Repair without groveling, and you stay in control. Men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. Machiavelli used that line to shock rulers into seeing people as they are. They protect advantages more fiercely than they protect feelings. Keep that in mind when you say sorry 3, 4, 5 times. You think they are weighing your heart, but many of them are simply noting whether you just lowered your position. You live inside an approval trap. From childhood, you were trained to believe, if I apologize quickly, people will see I care, and they will love me. So whenever someone looks displeased, you soften your tone, you grab all the blame, and you rush to reassure them. You do it because you want to be good. But human groups do not run mainly on goodness. They run on usefulness, status, and predictability. People ask, can this person deliver? Will this person stay steady when there is friction? Can I predict their reactions? Endless apology often answers those questions badly because it tells them you are driven by anxiety, not by purpose. Think about a workplace scene. Two people miss a deadline. The first says, "That is on me. I have adjusted the process. We can continue," and returns to work. The second sends 4 long messages explaining, apologizing, promising, almost begging to be understood. Both made a mistake, but only one kept authority. The over-apologizer looks like someone trying to buy favor rather than stand on performance. Once people see that need, they know they can raise the price of their approval. This is where clever people start exploiting you. They are not deeply wounded. They are opportunistic. Once they notice that a disappointed look from them makes you chase, they will use that look more often. Once they see that a few hours of silence from them makes you send long emotional paragraphs, they will go silent more often. They stretch the conflict the way a seller stretches a price, not because the harm increased, but because the buyer looks eager. Your eagerness to be forgiven makes you pay above-market attention, explanations, and concessions. Picture a relationship where every slight misstep becomes a trial. You arrive late once, and the whole evening turns into you proving loyalty. You forget to reply for a few hours, and now you must explain your whole emotional world. After a while, it is not about the lateness or the message, it is about control. They have learned that your hunger for harmony is a leash. All they have to do is look displeased, and you begin feeling guilty. That is the Machiavellian insight. Whoever wants peace the most pays the most, and you have been paying with your dignity. So the sentence, "They will see I care," is incomplete. Yes, they may see you care, but they will also see you are bendable, and human beings, even good ones, push what bends. A few will appreciate your intention. Many will enjoy that you are the one who always comes to the bottom. They will keep the issue open and keep you in apology mode because your uncertainty keeps them above you. Now we clarify Machiavelli's famous preference for fear over love. He did not say love is useless. He said that if you must choose, it is safer to be the person who cannot be easily harmed. Love depends on their changing emotion. Guarded respect depends on their calculation. When you over-apologize, you destroy their calculation. You tell them, "No matter how you speak to me, I will stay. No matter how long you punish me, I will keep proving myself." That turns you into the safe target, the person they can correct, delay, test, and you will still return. People do not always want to hurt you, but almost everyone wants to feel slightly taller. The person who always bows gives them that feeling, so they return to you whenever they want to feel bigger. You become the reliable lower ground, the one who absorbs moods, the one who listens to long accusations without ever saying, "That is enough." Over time, over-apology does not make you loved. It makes it convenient. Tactical restraint corrects this. When you make a small mistake, acknowledge it clearly once, and then hold your posture. You teach people that your dignity is not for sale. You did not deny the impact, but you also did not panic. That balance creates a different impression. You are someone who cares, but you are not ruled. In group chats, in teams, even in family arguments, it can look like one short message, "Got it, won't repeat," and then silence. Silence forces others to match your level, instead of dragging you into endless explanations. And when you do this, repeatedly, people begin to think differently. You are no longer the person who panics in tense situations. You are the person who can admit fault without surrendering rank. That kind of steadiness is what actually earns durable respect, far more than emotional oversharing ever could. So the real correction is inside you. Stop using apologies to calm your anxiety. Start by apologizing to restore order. One is you begging to be held. The other is you protecting the structure. Machiavelli always chose structure because structure protects respect. When you only soothe your anxiety, nothing is protected. They learn, you will dance. Apologize with dignity, not desperation, and power will stay with you. Men will always be ungrateful, fickle, simulators and dissemblers. You imagine that only princes had to watch for this, but you have seen it in your own life. You have seen how quickly favor can cool, how quickly people can step back from you. That is why you rush to say, "I'm sorry." Not because the mistake deserved it that much, but because the fear inside you demanded it. You are not always apologizing for the act. You are apologizing to protect your place. Machiavelli wrote for people who were terrified of losing position. You feel the same terror, only yours is social, relational, and professional. You do not want to be the friend left out of the next gathering, the partner emotionally demoted, the employee quietly replaced. So the instant you sense displeasure, you lower yourself. You bend before anyone tells you to bend. This is the hidden fear of exile. It whispers, if they see too much spine, they will throw you out. So you pay in words, in softness, in obedience that is larger than the mistake. Look at how fast you respond when a message sounds cold. Look at how quickly you offer to fix something that was only half your fault. That speed is not holy. That speed is panic. It is the mind of someone trying to stay inside the walls. Your apology becomes a pass at the gate. Please keep me in your good graces. And the more often you do it, the more people learn that your presence is tied to your submission. You become the person who stays by staying small. Most of this is old. Many people were trained like this as children. If your peace depended on not angering a parent, you learned to scan their face the moment they entered the room. You learned to adjust your tone. You learned to say sorry before the explosion came. "I'm sorry" was the price of calm. You were a child already doing court politics, showing harmlessness to avoid punishment. That script rarely gets rewritten on its own. It simply changes actors. Now, it is your boss, your partner, your elders, your online audience, anyone whose approval you think you need. So today you apologize for being 5 minutes late. You apologize for needing space. You apologize for setting a boundary. You apologize for not responding during work hours. None of these deserves shame, but your shadow, the unseen part of you that fears abandonment, treats them like crimes. It says, "Fix it now or they will withdraw. Fix it now or they will stop loving you. Fix it now or you will be alone again." That is not moral behavior. That is hostage behavior. Machiavelli would not tell you to feel guilty about this. He would ask you to see the leverage. He would say, the one who fears exile the most will serve the most. That is precisely what happens. The person who is terrified of being left becomes the most useful, the most yielding, the most willing to carry extra weight. They accept overtime without pay. They accept blame without proof. They accept moods without pushback. They take it because separation feels worse than injustice. Their past is doing the bargaining, not their present will. Now look at the other side. People can smell when your apology is really desperate. They can hear it in the length of your message, in how you over-explain, in how your voice lifts at the end of sentences like a question. They can see it in the way you cannot hold eye contact when you say, "Sorry." Those signals tell them, this person is afraid to lose me. And many people, not all, but many will respond the way Machiavelli predicted. If they can get more, they will. They will ask for another explanation, another gesture, another surrender. This is the realism you must accept. If you show that you will overpay to stay, some people will make you overpay to stay. They will prolong their coldness. They will repeat the accusation. They will say, I just don't feel you get it, even after 3 clear apologies. They are not clarifying, they are raising the price. And you are paying for it, because your shadow is terrified of the door closing. You have seen this pattern in relationships. One person says, maybe we need a break, or maybe this isn't working, and the other person instantly melts. Suddenly, the boundaries disappear. Suddenly, the needs disappear. Suddenly, the demand for respect disappears. The threat of exile controls them more effectively than any logical argument. And once someone sees that a threat works, it becomes their favorite tool. The way out is to expose the real driver. Your apology impulse is not always about right and wrong. Sometimes it is about a child still trying to keep an unpredictable parent calm. Sometimes it is about a younger you still trying to be liked by a group that never truly claimed you. You are no longer in that house. You are no longer in that school, but the shadow still acts like rejection. Today's rejection will hurt exactly as rejection did then. As long as that shadow drives you, your apologies will be larger than the situation, and your dignity will be smaller than it should be. So start measuring. Ask yourself, what did I actually do, and what disaster am I imagining? If the act was small, let the repair be small. If the delay was minor, let the apology be brief. If the misunderstanding was shared, let the responsibility be shared as well. Do not pay a childhood debt to an adult who is only slightly displeased. When you match the size of the repair to the size of the issue, you begin ruling yourself again. You show that you want harmony, but not at the cost of self-erasure. As your fear of exile shrinks, the leverage others have over you shrinks. They stop smelling that panic. They stop imagining you as endlessly pliable. They realize that if they want your presence, they must offer respect, not just access. And the ones who were only there because they could dominate you will slowly leave, and that loss will be a gain. Because a prince does not keep advisors who only enjoy him when he is weak. See the wound, match the repair, keep your crown. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. You have been living on the wrong side of that line. You still believe people will honor your good heart, but they primarily respond to what they see, your posture, your tone, the place you speak from. And lately, you have not been saying from the throne. You have been speaking from the floor, apologizing too much, lowering too fast, trying to keep the peace at the cost of your own rank. Inside you, there are 2 voices. One wants to be noble, to be the bigger person, to keep every room calm. The other is sick of watching you fold. It asks, why do they talk to us like we are beneath them? Why do we always make the first repair? That is the split self. It is like an internal court where everyone argues, but you are not presiding. You are not the judge. You are the defendant. Every time you apologize for a past necessity, that court erupts again. One side praises you for being kind. The other side charges you with surrender. You call your behavior maturity, but another part of you calls it self-betrayal. That private accusation is what drains you. Machiavelli would say a prince who cannot appear firm will be tested, and you are living that truth. Outwardly, you present softness. It's okay. I understand. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. But inwardly, you are building a private list of moments where you felt small. You replay conversations in the shower. You imagine the stronger line you could have used. You picture yourself holding your gaze instead of rushing to explain. That replay is evidence of collapse. You are not at peace with how you showed up. You know you sold your height for harmony, and harmony bought that cheaply. Now look at what this does to your social position. In power psychology, what you show becomes what people believe. People are not taking X-rays of your soul, they are watching your pattern. If every argument ends with you taking the heavier blame, The group will assume that is your place. If every tense moment ends with you softening first, they will make that the rule. At first, they may admire you for being mature. By the 5th time, they will read it as your station. By the 10th time, no one will even try to meet you halfway, because you have taught them they do not need to. You thought you were showing goodness. You actually broadcast that availability was lowered. Reputations do not need to be announced to be real. Families do it. Offices do it. Friend circles do it. They watch who talks over whom, who apologizes more, who adjusts their schedule, who drives across town, and who says sorry, even when they were disrespected. Slowly, a chart is drawn in people's minds. High, medium, low. You may think of yourself as kind, but you are being filed under low. And once you are filed there, people stop protecting your dignity. It is expected that you will give way. The worst part is that you start expecting it from yourself. This is why you sometimes feel nervous before you even speak. Your body already predicts the outcome. You will talk, they will frown, you will shrink, they will win. That is emotional collapse. It is not one big breakdown, it is 1,000 small forward bends until your default position is below eye level. You start editing your opinions before you share them, because you assume you will have to apologize afterward. You call that being considerate. It is actually preemptive surrender diplomacy used not to protect a realm, but to protect your fear. Then the spiral makes everything worse. You say sorry once, a clean, sufficient repair, but their silence or their calm tone triggers your old fear. So you start explaining, I just wanted you to know where I was coming from. I hope you don't think I was disrespecting you. I really value this relationship. Each extra sentence drags you lower. You think you are repairing. In fact, you are confessing. Even if you were not guilty, you now look guilty because you talk so nervously. In courts and palaces, the one who speaks longest to justify himself is the one everyone assumes has something to hide. Machiavelli's rulers did not ramble. They stated, they corrected, they moved. They understood that authority is partly theater. If you look unsure, people will make you more unsure. You, however, are trying to manage the other person's mood, to get them to smile again, to make sure no love is lost. So you keep talking until they relax. By then, you have revealed the most dangerous fact about yourself. Your peace depends on them. That gives them the option to raise the price whenever they want, and you will pay it, because you have shown you will. Contrast that with a sovereign response. Yes, that was my mistake. Here is how we proceed. Short, closed, forward. No begging for emotional clearance. Your version is, yes, that was my mistake, and I really hope you're not upset, and I just wanted to clarify. Feel the difference. One preserves height, one sells height for reassurance. The real cost of living in the second version is that your identity breaks. One part still believes you were meant to carry yourself with quiet authority. One part has gotten used to crawling. One part is angry that people do not see your good intentions. But people are not reacting to intentions. They are responding to the signal you send every time you over-apologize. I will come down to you. Once that becomes your known behavior, even you stop believing your own story about being strong. And when you no longer feel yourself, resentment grows in secret, resentment toward them for taking, and resentment toward yourself for allowing it. Stop negotiating from the floor and speak like you belong on the throne. A prince must learn how not to be good. You hear that and think it is only about war, rival families, and state secrets. But it is also about this quiet situation. You keep getting trapped in, someone keeps demanding more apology than the wound deserves, and you keep giving it because you confuse their control with their care. You call it love, but what keeps showing up is hierarchy. I love repairs, power extracts. What you are facing is not tenderness, it is leverage. You have to see the difference between healthy correction and status extraction. A healthy person says, "Hey, that hurt," and after you acknowledge it, they relax. The correction has ended. The goal was understanding, not domination. There is room for your dignity to stay standing. But the other kind says, "No, you still don't get it," even after you have admitted it. They want you to keep chasing their approval, to keep explaining your mind, to keep proving your loyalty. That is no longer about the original pain. That is about them enjoying the higher ground. They are not healing the moment they are securing their position. Look at your own pattern. You say sorry once, clean, honest. They stay cold. You say sorry twice, adding more context. They start listing old mistakes, things that are not even connected to today. You say sorry again, now from a lower place, promising change, oversharing your feelings, even blaming yourself for things you did not do. This is no longer repaired. This is a tribute. You are paying to be let back into the emotional city, and because you are paying, they are ruling. That is why you leave these conversations feeling smaller than the person you were trying to love. Real love does not need you humiliated to feel safe. Real love allows a short bridge to be built. I see how that landed. Thank you. Here's how we move. Fast, respectful, finished. What you have been dealing with sometimes is different. It wants you on your knees longer. It wants you to be reassured again. It wants your speech to be softer than theirs. It wants you to admit you were wrong in your intention, not just in your outcome. That is excessive. That is court behavior, not family behavior. That is why you feel tired after you were performing for a throne that wasn't yours. So you must learn royal repair, not beggar repair. Royal repair is brief, calm, and centered. You do not deny harm, but you also do not sell yourself to prove purity. You talk like someone who still sits in a chair. I understand. I should not have said it that way. Here is what I will do instead. Then you stop. You do not audition for forgiveness. You do not send 5 follow-up messages because they took a long time to reply. You do not write essays trying to preempt every possible misunderstanding. You repair once, with dignity, and you let your consistency speak later. Beggar repair, on the other hand, is noisy and endless. It is you watching their face to see if they are satisfied yet. It is you apologizing for the apology. It is you telling them how deeply you value them, not because the moment called for it, but because you are afraid they will pull away. That tone teaches them something dangerous. Your fear of loss outweighs your need for respect. In Machiavellian terms, that makes you governable. People govern what they can scare. This is where you stop paying emotional ransom. If every conflict costs you your self-respect, the relationship is poorly structured. Love does not make you beg to be seen as honest. Love does not stretch a minor offense into a long punishment. Love does not require that you bleed so the other can feel tall. When you notice that the price of peace is always going lower, you are not in peace negotiations, you are being held in place. You have 2 options then. You restructure the terms. I have owned what I did. I will not keep circling it. Let us move forward. Say it slowly, steadily, without aggression. Or, if they refuse to let the topic die because they enjoy the power, you reduce access, not to punish, but to protect the throne of your own mind. Machiavelli prized stability. You cannot be stable if every disagreement turns into you, proving you are not a bad person. Withdraw from dynamics that need you weak. The moment this clicks, your apologies become lighter and more believable. You will apologize when you are wrong, but you will not apologize in a way that erases you. The people who genuinely care will match that energy. The people who only enjoyed you being submissive will drift away. Let them. It was never love that was being fed there. It was their appetite for a lower figure. Repair with honor, not hunger. A prince who is not wise himself cannot be well advised. You have been listening to the anxious advisor inside you that says, "Apologize now, or they will leave." That advisor once kept you safe, but now it keeps you small. Today, you listen to the strategist in you, the one who can admit impact without surrendering rank. You are not cutting out empathy. You are cutting out groveling. That is the difference between being respected and being handled. Start with the strategic acknowledgement formula. When conflict appears, you do not pour out long explanations. You take control in 3 moves. First, acknowledge impact. "I see how that landed," or "I get that it sounded sharp." This shows awareness and disarms honest people. Second, restate your position. "Here is what I meant. This was the priority I was acting on." This keeps your spine visible so no one mistakes empathy for surrender. Third, set forward motion. "Let's do it this way now. Here is the next step." You decide the direction, so the moment cannot be stretched and used against you. Short, clear, and forward. This works because an endless apology leaves the door open for the other person to keep walking in, and taking. Contained acknowledgement closes the door. You signal, issue seen, structure kept. That is classic Machiavelli. Admit what is useful to recognize, protect what is helpful to protect, and never perform weakness longer than necessary. Performance of weakness invites rule. You can apply this everywhere. Your partner says, "You were distant yesterday." You answer, "I hear you. I was locked at work. I am present tonight." Your manager says, "That email was abrupt." You answer, "Understood. I will add context next time. Here is where we are now." A friend says, "You forgot to check on me." You answer, "You're right, I should have. Let's meet this weekend." In every scene you appear, but you still sound like someone who belongs at the table. People remember tone more than they remember the original mistake. Talk like a person who expects to stay. Next, you protect rank in relationships. You used to believe love dissolves hierarchy. It does not. Even in love, rank and posture matter. Desire fades when one person spends all their time kneeling. Respect fades when one person is always pleading. So you start speaking like someone whose presence has value. Hold eye contact instead of looking down. Slow your speech instead of rushing. Keep sentences short instead of flooding. Do not race to fill silence. Silence is a high-ranking tool. These non-verbal signals say, "I care, but I am not afraid of your displeasure." People, consciously or not, take their cues from that. Picture a ruler in a hall. He listens, nods, gives an answer, and the hall moves. He does not spend 15 minutes justifying his decision. You can model that at home, at work, in chats. When your boundary is questioned, start from the top, not the bottom. "That time does not work for me. I am not discussing it in that tone. We can return to this later." You are not being cold, you are keeping your chair. From the chair, you can still be generous, but generosity from height is respected. Generosity from fear is consumed. Now the long game. One dignified response will not erase years of over-apologizing. People keep a mental file on you, and in that file, you are the one who folds. To rewrite the file, you must answer differently each time. Every minor disagreement becomes training. Acknowledge, assert, advance. Even when your old fear tells you to over-explain, you breathe and stay with the 3 steps. After a few weeks, they think, "He doesn't chase like before." After a few months, they think, "We can't make her crawl anymore." Reputation shifts slowly, but it shifts for consistent people. Consistency also heals you on the inside. Each time you hold your posture and nothing terrible happens, the old story in your nervous system weakens. You prove to yourself, I can disappoint someone and still keep my place. That proof is more powerful than any motivational line. It is living evidence. After 5, 10, or 20 calibrated responses, you stop expecting exile every time someone frowns. You start expecting resolution. That expectation makes you even calmer, and calm people are harder to dominate. This demands willingness. You must be ready to lose the people who only stayed because you were bendable. Machiavelli would say that power, depending on constant appeasement, is unstable. If someone can only like you when you kneel, what they want is not you. What they like is your kneeling. Let them go. Your circle may get smaller, but your posture will grow taller. And tall posture attracts cleaner loyalty. People trust those who can walk away far more than those who will do anything to stay. Stand like that long enough, and people will start mirroring you. Then you will notice calm entering your life. An automatic apology is loud because it is scary. The calibrated response is quiet because it is secure. You will begin to enjoy the silence after you speak, because you will know you did not sell your dignity for temporary warmth. That is what it means to meet the shadow. You look straight at the part of you that feared exile, and you teach it a higher law. We can care, but we will not kneel. Acknowledge, assert, advance, and rule yourself first. Peace is not kept by weakness. It is kept by presence. You spent years trying to keep the peace by making yourself smaller, and all it did was teach certain people that they could press you whenever they wanted. Here is the hopeful turn. You do not have to choose between being good and being strong. You can repair it without crawling. You can care without being controlled. You can stay kind and still look like someone who belongs on the throne. Think about the old version of you, the nervous pleaser, the one who heard the slightest disappointment in someone's voice and instantly flooded the room with, "Sorry, I didn't mean it. Please don't be upset." The one who talked too much because silence felt like danger. That version of you lived in chaos because every mood around you could move you. Your peace depended on their expression. Your dignity depended on their reply. Now imagine the newer posture. You listen, you acknowledge, you answer in a few clean lines, then you stop. You let the conversation breathe because you are no longer terrified of their reaction. That stillness is power. Machiavelli would have called it the prince's calm, the ability to stay where you are instead of chasing every ripple in the court. That calm is relief. The storm can happen outside you without rearranging you inside. This is where a quiet reward appears. The people who actually respect strength start leaning in. They see that you can admit fault without selling yourself. They feel safer with you because they know you will not bend today and then resent them tomorrow. At the same time, the people who only liked you when you were weak begin to fall away. They will say, "You've changed. You're colder now. You used to be more understanding." Let them talk. What they really mean is, you used to be easier to rule, and now you are harder to move. That shift is good. It exposes who was with you for love and who for leverage. And that is the secret benefit of this whole journey. You start living around relationships that do not need you humiliated to stay intact. You can disagree and still be loved. You can correct and still be admired. You can say, "That is enough apologizing for this," and a healthy person will recognize it as a boundary, not an attack. That is real peace, not the fake peace of swallowing everything, but the strong peace of being seen and still standing. So here is your closing charge, the Machiavellian one. Rule your tongue, rule your posture, rule your repairs, rule your tongue, so you do not spill weakness just because you are anxious. Rule your posture, so your body tells the world you are not begging for placement. Rule your repairs, fix what is yours to resolve, but never let anyone turn reconciliation into a ladder they climb over you. Control in conflict is where power is seen, and power held with calm is what makes people treat you carefully. You are not choosing hardness, you are selecting an order. You are choosing to stop letting old wounds sign new contracts. You are choosing to stay on the throne, even in the sentence, "I was wrong." That is the hopeful image, a person who can love, apologize, and remain high in their own eyes. Be gentle in heart, but immovable in rank.